This is a fast gypsy jazz tip for all you accordion players. We want to play confidently, and as beginners or people that are not super experienced, we want to stay in more simple material, but make sure that it expresses ourselves a lot. That's the whole point of this thing. It feels good when we sound like ourselves, when we're expressing ourselves. So here are 3 important tips for accordion style to help you sound confident and expressive while still using relatively simple material. The simple material we're going to use is arpeggios in 8th notes over the tune Tears by Django Reinhardt. It's a beautiful ballad. I have it up here, and you can find it along with this video PDF link to download. I'm going to start by showing you each of these 3 things to do and show you some counterexamples. So let's first talk about the air. There are many different genres of accordion music all around the world, and traditions and sets of techniques and songs and all that sort of stuff. And they all have some similarities, but they all have unique differences. And the use of air in these different styles is different. So, for example, some styles want the air to change a lot inside of the phrase. Some styles don't. Some styles you make accents, a lot of accents with the bellows. Sometimes some styles you don't. So and you may be coming from another genre, and you are just thinking about, oh, well, this is what feels normal and natural to me. And I encounter this quite a bit. So I want to show you one thing that's really important for the French accordion sound and this gypsy jazz swing sound, which comes mostly from French accordion players, is the use of a solid, sustained amount of air. So that's our first thing, talking about the air. So first, I'm going to show you a counterexample. I'm going to play through the 2 bars that I have this simple arpeggios, and I'm going to play a counterexample. So I'm going to make the air swell. And that sounds awful. That's like nails on a chalkboard to me. In a different context, something like that would be appropriate and right, but for this genre, it's not correct. Instead, what we want is a more solid, sustained breath of air, column of air coming through, either opening or closing. And on top of that, we can have some small changes. So I can, let me start by just pulling with a regular air. And it's louder. It doesn't have to be louder, it just has to be sustained. And it's a little bit flat, but it has a certain amount of confidence. So now if I add just a little bit of subtlety and breathe in a little bit more on the first. Okay, so that's the first thing. Sustained air, and you can breathe in a little bit more here and there, but always return to that floor. And don't do any swells or crescendo inside of the phrase. Anything that's going to happen is going to happen right at the beginning of the note, and then it immediately goes away. Okay, thing number 2, articulations. We don't want legato in our playing, and I see this all the time with beginners. I think just because we don't want to lose where we are, and that's the last thing we're thinking about. We're just trying to think about the chords and the notes and all this kind of stuff. However, you need to be aware of it. So we don't want legato. What we do want is nice, gentle sounding notes in this case, but with a space in between them. So let me slow that down. Hear the spaces? And the spaces on the accordion are really, really important for giving the accordion rhythmic character. It's like our percussiveness, although we don't have, like many other instruments, anything that's actually striking. Nor like any wind instruments that go in the mouth, we can't use our lips or tongue to create articulations because we only have our piano keys or buttons. And so the way we do that is by lifting and pressing and lifting the notes is how we get our articulations, and most of the stuff you want for gypsy jazz is going to be done in the right hand. Cool, let's talk about the third and final thing, which is really, really simple idea, which is the last note of your phrase, keep it shorter. Do not hold long on the last notes of your phrase. So I'm going to demonstrate. So I'm going to consider this phrase 2 measures long. So from the C minor all the way to the G7. And let me play the counter example first. Right, sounds terrible. You might not notice it when you're doing it, but these are the things that we need pointed out to help us, kind of go, oh, that's what I was doing. So let's hear it with the last note shorter. And off. And it doesn't have to be staccato at this speed, but we want it to be not held long. So think about that, and if you're all this stuff applies to all the other tempos and songs in gypsy jazz. If you're playing faster, let's see, like Swing 42, in that case, the last note of your phrase would be a little bit more like a staccato because the tempo is so fast, but it's still not long. Cool. All right, so the last thing I'll do is just play it all together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. With the 3, air, articulation, and length. Play confidently with good technique, and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, 3, 4 and 2 and 3 and that's your little etude to work on those 3 things to make you sound more clean, clear, and confident, and get you sounding more expressive.